Our next speaker is Steven Stetzler from the University of Washington. His field is in astronomy, and he has done his practicums at Los Alamos National Laboratory.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Steven Stetzler, fourth-year fellow, fourth-year graduate student, University of Washington. And I'll be talking today about a project that I picked up about 6 months to a year ago, which I'll be carrying through for the rest of my degree, finishing my thesis. I'll be talking about extracting solar system science from this survey called the Deep Drilling Field Survey that uses the dark energy camera. So first I'll give a short outline of my talk. First I'll be talking about what is the dark energy camera, and additionally what is this Deep Drilling Field Survey. And second, I'll be talking about how this survey and this camera, it's a precursor to an upcoming survey called the Legacy Survey of Space and Time, which is going to be the next generation of astronomy sky surveys. Additionally, I'll be talking about processing the image data from the dark energy camera using the LSST science pipelines, the solar system science we can extract from these images, discovering and characterizing what are called main belt asteroids, and then also a detection technique called shift and stack to detect very faint objects in these images. And also some plans we have on for using shift and stack to discover faint objects and potentially a planet beyond the orbit of Neptune in the first year of LSST data. So first, what is the dark energy camera? It's a camera with 62 2K by 4K CCDs that's mounted on a 4-meter telescope at the Cerro Tololo Observatory in Chile. On the right are pictures of the telescope and also the camera. And in front of the camera, we usually place one of several what are called photometric filters, which filter out certain wavelengths of light. And in this talk, I'm going to be mentioning 3 of those filters, which are called G, R, and I. G is sort of the blue-green wavelengths of light, R is sort of red, and I is sort of infrared. And this camera and this telescope combination provides a very wide field of view of the sky, which is what makes it useful for surveying the sky. It has a field of view about 3 square degrees. This is the dark energy camera focal plane, and additionally the moon for scale. You should be able to fit about 4 moons in one field of view. And next I'll be talking about this Deep Drilling Field Survey, which was started out of a proposal from the University of Washington. This survey uses the dark energy camera to image 7 regions of the sky using what's called a deep drilling cadence, where we revisit each of these regions of the sky every 3 nights over about 3 months. And we take 5 exposures in 3 or 4 of these photometric filters to find astronomical objects down to about 23.5 magnitude. Magnitude is a unit of brightness, and 23.5 is pretty faint. And for solar system science, I'm going to be focusing on, or I've been focusing on 4 of these pointings on the sky, which are within 10 degrees of the ecliptic, which is just a line if you project out on the sky, it's where the solar system lies. And this survey has produced a very rich data set of measurements of variable stars, supernovae, and solar system objects, accumulating about 300 to 900 multi-filter measurements of these objects. And this survey and this telescope, it's a precursor to the next generation all-sky survey called the Legacy Survey of Space and Time, which is going to be a multi-filter 10-year survey of the entire southern sky, it's sort of an unprecedented survey in astronomy. And we're using the data from the Dark Energy Camera DDF survey to understand the technical challenges of processing the LSST images using their pipelines and also extract novel solar system science from them. And so first, as a part of this project, I've been using the LSST science pipelines, which are an open source tool you can find at github.com/LSST for what we call reducing images. And I've used the LSST science pipelines to convert around 5 terabytes of these raw images from DECAM to what are called science-ready images, finding bugs along the way to improve the code to make it ready for production use on LSST data in 1 to 2 years. And I've been using this code to scale this processing out to hundreds of nodes on a cluster at UW. If you're an astronomer, I would recommend using this code because it's really great for doing this data reduction in a scalable way. So next I'll talk about what exactly is this data that we get from the telescope. This is an image of one of the raw images from the dark energy camera, and it contains signatures of the camera and the observing environment. We can use the pipelines to calibrate them and make them science ready. This is what's on the right. You can see stars and galaxies. And then additionally, we can make a model of the sky called a template image and subtract that from the calibrated image to produce a difference image, which is what I'm showing on the right. And what you'll see on the right are dots of light, which represent variable sources that appear in this image. And next, I want to focus on a small region of this difference image and show you what we can find if we look at these images and repeatedly visit the field and produce difference images. So I'll blink back and forth between this exposure and the next exposure, and hopefully if you squint, you can see what's happening here. We're moving back and forth between the R and the G band, and the objects in the images are getting fainter and brighter, represented by these objects. They have different brightnesses and different filters. And then also there's an object that's moving in this field. And if you can't see that, I'll highlight it with a blue circle. You can see that there's actually an object moving through this field of view. And this is an object that has a name. It's called Asteroid 2004 FE12. And so in this survey, we've actually observed around 8,000 known asteroids, just like 2004 FE12. And this begs the question, what can we do with these observations? And one thing we can do is we can create a light curve with them, which is how the brightness changes over time. And this is the plot on the right here. You'll notice a few things about this plot. First, its brightness is decreasing over time, which is a function of our viewing angle, or when we look at the object, the viewing angle. And then also, and if we correct for that, we can derive what's called the color of the asteroid, which is the difference of the brightness of this object in these different filters. And this color can be used to classify these objects based on their surface properties. So we plan on using these color measurements to measure the surface properties of these 8,000 asteroids. And in addition, if you zoom in on a small region of the observation, these are the first 10 days, you can see that there's a bit of an oscillatory pattern in the data. If I zoom in on the first day, you can see it goes down. Third day, it's about the same. Sixth day, it flattens out. Ninth day, it goes up again. And maybe you'll notice that this is an oscillatory pattern. If I do a periodogram or a Fourier transform, I can derive its periodicity and find that it has a period of about 0.38 days. And if I fold that light curve on 0.38 days, I can see that there is this sinusoidal variation in the light curve. And so what we've discovered is that 2004 FE12 is actually rotating, it's tumbling through space at about 0.38 days, at a period of about 0.38 days. And additionally, we can use these light curves in this rotation period to reconstruct a shape model of the asteroid. And so this covers a plan we have for analyzing main belt asteroids from this survey. We want to measure the colors, measure the rotation periods, and also discover new asteroids. And these kind of analyses, they let us characterize the main belt of asteroids, which are between the Earth and Jupiter. But we're also interested in using different detection techniques to discover what are called trans-Neptunian objects. These are asteroids beyond the orbit of Neptune in the outer reaches of the solar system. And the way we do this is by using a technique called shift and stack, which lets us detect objects at or below the noise threshold. The way we do this is we sum pixels along linear trajectories. And this is the image of 2004 FE12. You can see it moves in time on a linear trajectory. And if we want to do a blind search for faint objects, all we have to do is we have to guess a starting pixel x, y and a velocity Vx, Vy, and then do a full four-dimensional grid search to find objects. And like I said, this is a four-dimensional search problem that scales. I put a scaling relation here. Big N is the number of images you have. Little n is the number of pixels in your images. V is your velocity grid spacing. And then T is going to be your time baseline. And so the data set that I was talking about, the dark energy camera deep drilling field survey, it kind of challenges how you can do these shift and stack searches, because first the number of images goes out to hundreds, and the time baselines goes out to 3 months. So using shift and stack on this data set would be sort of a novel application of this method. And additionally, I'll mention that at UW, some collaborators have developed a GPU code called KB-MOD, Kernel-Based Moving Object Detection, which accelerates the shift and stack process using GPUs. And it can search through 10 to the 10 of these trajectories through about 10 images in 1 minute. And so an additional issue actually crops up when we want to do these shift and stack searches on data over long baselines. And the issue is that the on-sky trajectories of solar system objects are nonlinear over week to month-long time spans. And I'm showing this in the figure on the right. This is the on-sky trajectory of a trans-Neptunian object over the course of a year. It starts out somewhere in the middle, it flies over to the left, does a quick turnaround, and then flies over back to the right. And so this is a very nonlinear trajectory that we still would like to recover using shift and stack. And the solution to this is actually to guess the distance to the object, which allows us to model this wiggle and subtract it out. But this adds another computational challenge to the problem, that now we have an extra dimension to search in our search grid. And like I said before, applying shift and stack to this DDF data set, it'll be a first application of these extended searches using KB-MOD. And then finally, I'll talk about a sort of ambitious plan we have to apply these shift and stack techniques using the GPU code to the first year of data from LSST. So in its first year, LSST will take about 80 images over a 3-month time baseline of the entire ecliptic. And we estimate that doing shift and stack will require about 3.5 million GPU hours, or about 5,000 GPU months, which we're hoping will fit into a time allocation on a supercomputer, or perhaps in one of the private or public clouds, Google Cloud, Amazon Web Services. And this is super computationally intense. However, the payoff is going to be large. We estimate that we'll be able to discover around 100 times more trans-Neptunian objects. LSST will discover around 10,000, and we expect 100,000 or potentially even up to 1 million. And this will, in addition to potentially discovering a planet beyond the orbit of Neptune, it'll also help uncover the history of the solar system. And applying shift and stack to the DECAM DDF data is going to be a first step towards this ambitious goal. So with that, I will just say thanks first to my advisor, Mario Jurich at UW, my practicum advisor, Michael Grosskopf, and CSGF, the staff, Lindsay, Michelle, Chris, steering committee, the fellows at this program review, and the alumni as well. And I will take any questions. Thank you.